What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So what I want to do right now is I want to provide you a little bit of an update on some of the good news that we're hearing out today. So first off, I'm going to talk about the fourth stimulus check and how there's actually some talks, but the talks aren't great at this time, and I want to explain why, so make sure you stick around for that. I want to also explain how right now Congress is actually considering, or at least a bipartisan group is considering, putting in a gas tax into the infrastructure package in order to pay for it. And I want to address the housing market bubble or crash that a lot of people are wanting answers on. So I'm going to address those things in this current video. So first off, if you enjoy these daily uploads, could you do me a favor? Go ahead, hit that like button. It really does help out the channel. Also, consider subscribing so that I can continue to keep you updated on everything that's currently going on. So now, let's jump into the update for today. First, I just want to be 100% clear, the American Jobs Plan. This is the big infrastructure package, the Build Back Better plan that President Biden has put out. Well, this is what is currently being negotiated. This is what multiple bipartisan groups are currently working on at this time. What I can tell you is the American Jobs Plan has absolutely no stimulus checks included into it. Now, could they eventually add stimulus into it? Possibly. However, stimulus does not actually bring back jobs. So in most cases, there's not going to be a stimulus check included into the American Jobs Plan. However, it could be included into the social infrastructure package, and that is that other package that is currently not really being discussed, but at this time, some are saying that they are going to start the process of the budget resolution, which is the first step to going forward with the budget reconciliation, which means Democrats do not need even one single Republican vote. So we'll see what happens there. Something else that we're hearing is that President Biden at this time is actually getting a little tired of hearing progressives push and call for additional relief to the amount that they have been. And if you remember, this is what is causing a lot of issues. This is what caused many issues with the Republican Party last year under former President Donald Trump and the Trump administration, is when Republicans came forward and were asking for so much more or so much less then the Republican Party was actually putting out there for Nancy Pelosi and then Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. It actually turned into a bit of a problem because it made it very difficult for Steven Mnuchin to actually try to negotiate with Nancy Pelosi. So we'll see what happens, but as of right now, Democrats are actually wanting their party, or the Biden administration wants the Democratic Party to kind of scale it back, hold still a little bit, and let them kind of negotiate this deal as they do. Now, what we're hearing is that right now, the President Biden is getting tired of this, mainly due to the fact that the relief that they're asking for is too large and will never pass with moderate Democrats. They do not have the numbers in the Senate to pass such a large infrastructure package, including additional stimulus, especially a stimulus check of $2,000 per month. That's just too big. And because of the fact that they're calling for all this excessive spending, that, according to reports, is what's making it difficult for President Biden to even consider some of the things that they're currently bringing up. Some say that progressives like Bernie Sanders, AOC, and Pramila Jayapal, being that they are demanding more, is making it harder for more Democrats to actually support some of the things that they are getting behind. So if we start to see Bernie Sanders, AOC, Pramila Jayapal, Ilhan Omar, and some of these other progressives kind of scale things back, instead of asking for $2,000 per month stimulus checks, maybe ask for a one-time $1,000 stimulus check, that would get more support from some of these more moderates inside of Congress. So we'll see what happens there, and if some of these progressives do that. But at this time, that's what experts believe is the only way we will see an additional stimulus check and some other benefits as well. Now, at this time, Democrats do not have the luxury to wait. They do not have the luxury to pass multiple bills either through a budget reconciliation. We learned later last week that the Senate parliamentarian Elizabeth McDonough, she actually told Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer that Democrats only have one more budget reconciliation left, not two. And this is what has caused this entire week to pretty much blow up for Democrats, because they are having to change their plans all of a sudden. And so this is why we're getting the reports that we are, because right now, a bunch of these different groups, we've got a bipartisan group of senators, we have a bipartisan group, or the Problem Solvers Caucus, working on another bill. We had the GOP and the Republican Party, the main negotiators, they were working on another bill. And then we got House Democrats putting together their own bill. And then we got the Biden administration trying to work things out themselves. So we have all these different bills, 4 or 5 different bills, all fighting for the exact same thing. And every single one differs on how does this get paid for. And that's where we do have some good news, that there is talks that they are getting closer to a deal. However, this good news is actually bad news as well. And I'll explain more why in just a minute. So what we know right now is Democrats want to reach a bipartisan agreement with Republicans on this infrastructure package, mainly due to the fact that if they don't, then they will have to use their budget reconciliation on a complete, comprehensive infrastructure package that includes both the jobs plan, the American Jobs Plan on real infrastructure, roads, bridges, railways, things like that. But it will also have to include social infrastructure, which would be free community college, child care. There's things like some stimulus could be in there as well. And there's other provisions also. But right now, what some are saying is that the social infrastructure package, in addition to the real infrastructure package, if you combine those, it's too large, and that would actually alienate some Democratic voters, and that would hurt the Biden administration and Democrats for the upcoming election in 2022. So this is the reason why, according to reports, that we have to have 2 different bills. One bill needs to pass with bipartisan support, and that is the real infrastructure package. And right now, some are saying that climate change has to be in there. Even Senator Ron Wyden from Oregon stated he would oppose any bill if it does not include climate change. And so he's not the only one. I think there's actually a list of 4 or maybe 5 senators at this time that would oppose this and have publicly stated that. So just keep that in mind. As of right now, there's a lot of talks on infrastructure, and the infrastructure talks are going to and will impact stimulus in the future, because the lower amount we see in infrastructure currently in the American Jobs Plan means chances are we're going to have to take the social infrastructure package, put a little bit more in there, which is going to take out other pieces of legislation. And that could also include stimulus checks at this time. But according to multiple lawmakers, their goal is to get stimulus, Medicare, climate change, and the child tax credit extension into the next package. Now, none currently have mentioned if they were to choose just one piece of legislation, if they only had to pick one or could only pick one based off of funding and other things like that, which one would they choose? Nobody has stated which one is more important, whether it's stimulus checks, extension of the child tax credits, Medicare extension, or something else, climate change or whatever. Nobody has actually said what they would support and what they would drop. But based off of everything that we have been seeing and reading and hearing, what I can tell you is also based off of a few reports from experts, they say they would assume stimulus checks, not at the top. They're actually at the bottom of that list. Stimulus checks would be one of the first things that Democrats would cut at this point. If it was coming down to Medicare and the extension of that, they choose Medicare over stimulus checks. If it comes down to climate change versus stimulus checks, climate change would get pushed through. If it came down to the child tax credit extension versus stimulus checks to all Americans, it would most likely come down to the child tax credit extension, simply because that is more targeted. And many lawmakers are currently saying that the reason why the child tax credit payments actually get bipartisan support is because it is targeted to just parents. That is it. That is how clear Democrats and lawmakers currently are at this time. So I just want you to understand that and realize that right now lawmakers are trying to push additional packages. The problem is for people on Social Security, people without families, people without assets, chances are you are going to receive very little additional funding or relief. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I want to be accurate. I want to provide you with the facts of currently what is going on. That is one of the reasons why I do 2 different videos a day, is because there's 2 different sides, there's multiple angles, and I want to make sure you can see all of it as to what is currently happening at this time. Now that we are talking about this, okay, let's talk about how this group of bipartisan senators wants to pass this infrastructure package. Again, we are just now hearing reports on this. What we know is that they are still trying to figure this out amongst themselves, but the reports indicate that right now the only way to get bipartisan support is to take out the corporate tax rate increase. That's the only way that we're hearing they will pass this bill at this time. So, according to reports, this group does not want to include any corporate tax increase into the package, and they say it is not fair that some businesses or people would be required to pay for a road, bridge, or railway that they will never drive on. And that's true. It's just not fair. Why would you ask somebody to pay for something that they will never use? So this is where the talks of a use tax comes in. Right now, this group, according to reports, wants to pass a bill that would essentially increase the gas tax to the American people that use those roads, those bridges, those railways. And so again, it's just another use tax. And this is exactly what I was telling you a few weeks ago, is that don't expect to come out of this under the Biden administration with paying less taxes. The American people will have to pay more. There's no way around it. If right now the Biden administration wants to increase taxes on corporations, guess what? Corporations are going to increase their prices. So in a way, the American people will be paying for this. There's no way around it. The American people will be paying. I guarantee it. That's exactly what we're hearing. So right now, some are saying that the only way to pass a bill is to include some type of use tax. And the gas tax is the most likely scenario at this point because it is extremely profitable, according to multiple reports. Now, I want to bring something else up regarding stimulus checks, because right now, the reason why this gas tax is even being considered is because the gas tax would not increase that much. It would be small, but it would still increase. What we're hearing right now is currently there's around $600 to $700 billion sitting for the United States, and it's doing absolutely nothing. It was money that was left over from the other stimulus packages. So what I can tell you right now, these different groups of lawmakers, senators, House representatives, both, are actually considering putting together plans using the $600 to $700 billion first, and then figuring out a way to pay for the other legislation. So what I can tell you right now is they will repurpose the money first, and then figure out a way to slightly increase taxes so that we actually are not deficit spending. That is at least according to reports. So what I can tell you is that the $600 billion is actually not enough for the $2,000 per month stimulus checks. However, this is where things get a little more interesting. This is where we are hearing some good news. And this is one of the reasons why the Biden administration being upset with progressives over their huge asking prices actually makes sense regarding how much money is available currently for Congress to spend. But what we're hearing is that even though a $2,000 per month stimulus check would be considered out of the question because it's too expensive, some say that a possible one-time $2,000 stimulus check, not monthly, but a one-time payment, would actually be a good thing and could potentially pass. So right now there's a lot of changes, there's a good chance a $2,000 stimulus check could happen if it's targeted to the right individuals. But again, this is something that we'll just have to wait and see. The key though, as of right now, is that lawmakers, they want to see the American people get taken care of, and this means providing more assistance where it is needed the most, and that is to the lower income individuals. So now that we address that, let me explain what is currently happening right now with the market, okay, the housing market, okay? Because this is where some people are saying they need more assistance. They need more assistance on housing. Rent is too expensive. They're behind on rent. They cannot move because if they move, then their landlord won't get paid for the property that they were living in. And so they have to stay there, but it's too expensive. They keep getting further and further behind, and so on and so forth. It's just another never-ending cycle. What I can tell you right now is that the housing market is extremely hot. It's actually come down a little bit than where it once was a few weeks ago. That's actually a good thing. What I can tell you is that it is actually more affordable to rent something than to own something at this time. So if you are considering buying something and you're considering being in there for 20 or 30 years, go ahead and buy something, Okay, if you can get a good deal on it, needs some work, you can put in some sweat equity, that would be a great deal. However, just understand that once the Fed raises interest rates, okay, every 1% that they raise interest rates, we usually see the market drop 10%. So really, if you're looking at the grand scheme of things, the overall price of a property, plus you're looking into interest rates, if it goes down 10%, and say you're going to buy a $400,000 house, and now it goes down to $360,000 because it just dropped 10%, $40,000. So it's $360,000. Well, that 1% increase in the interest rate actually makes your payment pretty much the exact same. So just keep that in mind, that even though you're going to pay less for a property, if interest rates go up, you're actually going to pay the exact same when it comes down to the monthly payment, because you're actually going to pay more in interest. So for a lot of people that are saying, no, now is not the time to buy a property. Honestly, if you're getting a good deal now, especially if you're going to wait 20, 30 years to, and you're going to live in this property for pretty much the rest of your life, or a good portion of it, you should be fine. But now is not the time to be flipping properties. Now is not the time to try to, invest into a property and try to flip it for a profit in, the next 2 to 3 months. That's probably not a good deal. That's probably not a great time to do that. So just keep that in mind at this time. Now, I just want to answer this question. Do I think the housing market's in a bubble? I don't. I do not think the housing market is in a bubble, simply because these are unprecedented times. First off, it is very difficult to get houses built at this time because lumber prices are very expensive. Being that contractors are very busy, they're actually charging more money. Okay, so that's what's also leading to their expenses being a little bit higher. Also, one thing you need to keep in mind is that we are currently in a housing shortage. There's not enough housing to go around, especially affordable housing. So my expectation is, and I've also discussed this with many experts, my expectation is in the next 18 months, and that's probably about where we're going to be, next 18 months, so next year and a half, that is when we'll see a correction in the market, or a true correction. We're going to see housing prices fluctuate up and down over the next year or so, but I don't anticipate a huge drop, at least until we get this housing shortage dealt with. And that most likely will not happen until we get, maybe another 18 months, next year and a half. So just keep that in mind, because as of right now, there's a lot of stuff going on. Infrastructure is going to play a part in this. Stimulus checks, unemployment benefits, the unemployment rate, all that's going to play a major role in actually what happens moving forward. So as we know more, I promise I will share more, but that is currently what is going on. So if you guys have any questions whatsoever regarding stimulus checks, the infrastructure package, the possible gas tax, which again, even though it's good news that this package is potentially getting close to a deal, the bad news is we might have to pay more just to go and fill our cars with gasoline. So that's not a great thing either. And if you have questions on the housing market, please let me know your questions down in the comment section below. I just want to warn you guys that there are scammers. There's multiple scammers out there trying to trick people into sending them a message or texting them through WhatsApp. I will never do that. I never ask you to send me Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency. So if somebody is asking you to send you a message through WhatsApp or on Facebook, or just send you cryptocurrencies to answer your questions, I don't do that. I will answer your questions for free. So just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.